Number 23. Lindsay spent 2 1/3 hours in a science lab on Wednesday. She spent 3/4 of an hour preparing materials for an experiment. She spent 5/6 of an hour conducting the experiment. She spent the rest of the time cleaning her lab station. Based on the information, which statement is true? Now, before we look at the answer choices, let's go back and make sure we understand the problem. She spent this much time in the lab, 2 1/3 hours. During that time, all of these things happened. She spent 3/4 of an hour preparing the materials, 5/6 of an hour conducting the experiment, and the rest of the time, which we don't know, cleaning. But we do know that all three of these events made up 2 1/3 hours. So when we figure out what this is, then we can go to answering the question. We know that 3/4, erase that. I'm trying to erase that. All right. We know that 3/4, which I got from right here, plus 5/6. Let's find out what that equals. Got to have a common denominator. I'm going to multiply this by 3/3 and get 9. I'm going to multiply this by 2/2 and get 10. 9 plus 10 equals 19/12. So I know these two events took over an hour, 19/12. Now I'm not going to worry about putting them as a mixed number yet, because what I want to do is I want to figure out how long she took to clean the lab. So I'm going to start with 2 1/3 hours, and I'm going to subtract 19/12. Now I'm out of room here, so I'm going to go over to a blank page. Now the easiest way to do this problem is to take this fraction and write it as an improper fraction. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7 thirds. Okay? Now I need to subtract 19/12. Well, again, you have to have a common denominator to subtract. Common denominator will be 12. This you have to multiply by 4. 4 times 3 is 12, so 4 times 7 is 28. This is already in 12, so I don't need to do anything to it. Now I'm ready to subtract. 28, take away 19 is 9/12. Okay, that is not in lowest terms. But that is how long the third activity took. So if I go over here and I reduce 9/12, divide it by 3/3, I get 3/4. So 3/4 of an hour is what it took for her to clean the lab. So let me go back to my problem. And I'm going to clear some of this out. Okay, so now I know this is 3/4 of an hour right here. Alright, so 3/4 of an hour is what she used preparing. 5/6 of an hour is what she spent conducting the experiment, and 3/4 of an hour is what she spent cleaning. So now let's look at the answer choices. It's asking you which one of these is true. Lindsay spent 1 8/15 hours cleaning her lab station. No, this is what she spent cleaning her lab station. So that is not true, is it? False. Lindsay spent 2/3 hour preparing materials and conducting the experiment. So it's saying the 2/3 of an hour is materials plus the experiment. Materials was 3/4. We already know it can't be 2/3. That's already bigger than 2/3. And 5/6 was conducting, so there's no way if you were to add those two together, If you were to add these two together, there's no way that you're going to get 2/3. So that's not reasonable at all. Lindsay spent the same amount of time conducting the experiment as she spent cleaning the lab. Do y'all remember how much time she spent conducting the experiment? Let me clean some of this out. Conducting the experiment was 5/6 of an hour. Cleaning the station was this. Are those the same? Nope. I sure hope the answer choice is D. If it's not, then we've made a mistake somewhere. Alright, D says Lindsay spent 1/12 hour more conducting the experiment than she spent preparing the materials. Okay, so conducting the experiment versus preparing the materials. In other words, how much greater? Is it 1/12 more? So here we go. We're going to have to make some space here. And we're going to have to see what 5/6 minus 3/4 is. Is it 1/12 more? Well, we got to have a common denominator, which will be 12. We multiply by 2/2 to get 10/12. And we multiply by 3/3 to get 9/12. And when I subtract those, I get 1/12. So isn't this 1/12 more than 3/4? So Lindsay's spent 1/12 more conducting the experiment. That's true. She did. And so the answer to number 23 is D. And I know that was a long problem. Not hard, just lots of work to see if you can figure out the answer. Don't give up on yourself. You can do it. Keep trying.